Let's start over. Welcome to Center of Light. Tonight we're going to be delving into why you should never strike your child. Crush. I had an emotional day today. No, oh my God, Keith, I'm so sorry. I'm not interested in that. I had an emotional, growing, paying day today. I had some resistance around this presentation. Sort of not what I normally do, if you will. But I think it's overdue still for me. I did some crying, some lamenting, and I did some outright bawling. Wah! This presentation is not about pointing the finger, but just factually something that lingers in me, and I'm now consciously aware of it, and I'm gonna clean that slate. That's what the lamenting was for today. It's to cry a river to my precious soul. Never should you ever hit your child. Well, Keith, okay. Tonight is crush. Never strike your child. The original title for this show tonight was Never Hit Your Child, or Why You Should Never Hit Your Child. And then I changed it today at the last moment, Why You Should Never Strike Your Child. Quote, that point hits a little harder. And when the children don't do what we want them to do, we hit a little harder. Is this truly in order, or is this chaotic nonsense and ignorance? Wow. For those who have had this experience growing up, you do want to hear this program. For those who have had children who are now grown up, who turned out awesome, you want to hear this program. For those who are doing it to your children now, for those who are thinking about if you have children, how are you going to raise them? Keyword, raise. You want to hear this program. If you know someone who's doing it, and it seems abusive to you with your intelligence and your level of anchoredness and groundedness, and something inside says you should step in, maybe you should. But Keith, it's none of my business. Are you sure? My child does not belong to me. I am the steward of that child. And if you're a responsible, conscious human being, if I did something out of my child's purview of being raised to the fullest, it becomes your child. You're the steward. We are all the stewards of the children. Do you hear me? Never hit your children. Let me look at a couple things. I'm getting some messages. Of course, my mic was accidentally off. All right, let's keep moving. Can anyone hear me now? Raina, can you hear me? For a minute, I had my mic muted accidentally. I'm gonna wait for my thumbs up because it doesn't behave. I love this music. Thank you, Rena. God bless you. So, I'm the steward of children, and so are you. Or so we should be, would be if we take the initiative to understand the preciousness of children. It's beyond the preciousness of adults. It's always the children. It's always the seeds we leave in the fertile ground of spirit. You spank your child, you have a world of karmic trouble coming to you. No one is insinuating that you're doing it maliciously or even consciously, because if you were conscious, if we are conscious, we would not do it in the first place. Make it a habit of shutting down conversations that involve hating other people. Sort of in alignment with what I'm saying, but a different application. Make it a habit to do something right and stand in and up for something toward a better possibility for those who are being crushed. Tonight's presentation is crushed. Why you should never strike your child. O sweet divine Lord, you are the life fragrance that comes from the open lotus flower. Tonight we're speaking about crushing, because it is what we're doing. Have done, can do, should not do to the child. Oh my God. How do I know? Why was my day so emotional? Because I was one of them. I was raised in an old world doctrine, script, dogma, location, family. I get it. I get it. And I did get it. I got a lot of it. I know that I did my part. Still, somewhere we need to start educating the child versus locking them down, striking them, and stifling their spirit's expression. Here we go. Why you should never hit, strike in capital words, letters, your child. Spare the rod instead of spoil the child. Spare the rod, save your child. We've all heard it. I did. Get a job. You can't do that. You better do this. Go to your room. It's like being in prison or locked up. Go to your room. Stay in there. You're incarcerated until the warden lets you out. It hurts. It's distancing. It's separation when one needs comfort. In fact, conscious parenting never leaves room for uncomfort because they are conscious in the raising of the child and not the beating down of the child. We have to begin to break this generational curse of hitting and its after effects. The effects not only last a lifetime. I could have, which I didn't, I could have passed this down to my child, and therefore, we have to begin to break down we have to begin to break the generational curse of hitting and its after effects. The effects of it not only last a lifetime, but they are passed down to other lifetimes you call your children. And so the cycle of ignorant generational madness continues. You see, the problem is not with the child. Your approach to raising your children, not beat them down, is your problem. Did you know that when you hit your child and you're doing it, you are trying to break their will? Hitting your child will never work. Never. In fact, what you are doing maybe not intentionally, is spiritual abuse. Hitting is never okay, ever. War is hitting exponentiated into the Google, to the 10th power. But speaking about taking care of our own, hitting is never okay, and it will never work. Remember this one? Sit down and shut up. Being beat down and broken will never bring your children to love you at all. How do I know all of this? Because I was one of them, and those effects still linger, and their grip in me today was tight. And I'm grateful for today because it made me consciously aware of something that I was not aware of before till today, as to why I had presentation and energetic dismay surrounding this time with you. I didn't know whether I should or shouldn't. Now I know why. And it's brought me to a place of trying to stifle my present creations, my manifestations. So I was given a biscuit today, a nugget, a chicken nugget, a bone. I have worked for many years. No wonder many people check off of the earth very quickly. Why? Because it can be hard as fuck. That was deliberate. Made the point. Exclamation one is my point. It can be hard as fuck. If you hit your child or any other person, you are bringing a heap of trouble upon yourself spiritually, and you will pay that debt. As I raised my son, a few weeks ago, he and I were having a dialogue. He's almost 18 now, and we always have dialogue. He doesn't like it a lot. He's not resistant in one way, but in another. And we had this wonderful father-son dialogue about how I've praised him that day in that dialogue. That you're such an amazing son. You listen to your father. He says, from his 17 plus, almost 18-year-old perspective, because you have never disrespected me. This ain't about praising me. I was just wowed that he used the verbiage and the relationship of what to him fathering is actually. What fathering actually is. It's respecting your child. So anything I say, ask, or want from him, he says, sure, Dad. Doesn't give me flack, doesn't give me crap. And it opened me up to a level of understanding that respect is what the children are asking for. That happens through education so they can follow your lead as the parent/steward, so you never have an issue with them ever. Ever. That has to be the greatest thing my son has ever said to me. When I was cutting the umbilical cord of my child, the doctor said, "Congratulations, Mr. Blanchard, it's a boy." He gave me the snips, shears, scissors, nail clipper, whatever you want to call that thing. And as I was cutting it, I closed my eyes and I said, "Dear Lord," and I heard, "You will never have trouble ever from this child." Doesn't make me or my child special. Obviously, we have a bond of father, son, son, father. Never hit your children. And if you have, and they've grown to be just fine, maybe at this time, you can find a beautiful soft space of sweet surrender and the bitterness that it's been in you since you did it unconsciously all those years ago. No judgment, just a fact of healing yourself. And say, you know what, son, daughter? But Dad, you raised me just fine. But you know what, son or daughter? It's about healing and breaking, transcending the abusive, unconscious, family, generational cycle curse. So when my son told me this, I knew that my time as being his parent, his steward, is complete. There is a distance, an entire universe between the importance of being conscious and firm as a parent and being unconscious and abusive. If you hit your child, I thought to myself, if people hit their children, they definitely don't want to watch this presentation. Then I thought to myself, maybe their inquisitiveness, their curiosity would stick around. And if you landed here in this moment as to why you just heard me express exactly what I just said, maybe it got to you because it struck a chord in you. And according to you, it's up to you, even now that time with your children are over, because they're older, you can change any future curse around you, generational that is, starting with yourself, by apologizing, or at least coming conscious with them and meet in the heart to say, you know what? And I understand the grip that my relationship and my being reared usually happened in my rear. It was abusive to me. And I'm no longer going to carry it. I have a little bit more to go for sure. If you know someone and you feel it's time to do something in a loving way that can have the most delivery punch, hey, check out this cool presentation. You have to tell them what's about. Or just post it on your wall and whatever, tag a few people. If my doing this presentation tonight gave someone, one person, one nugget, I am completely satisfied. Be right back tonight, Essential of Light Crush. Do not crush the will of your child and insinuate God does not know what it's doing. We have too many of us's here already. We need some new others or some new we's. Point is, as we are, even in our dismay, we're all perfect in every way. And it's time for a change. We have to change the world, to change ourselves. Change is inevitable. Stop smiting those who are trying to change or represent change. Eventually, you and what you know is you is going to die anyway. So change is eternal. Be that.
100 million pieces, making one of each and every heart. Giving one love like you really mean it. Seeing one in each other every day. Loving one is how to get to heaven. Sharing one love that you are. Hearing one, that little voice inside. Being one with all the people. Teaching one all the children about love. Finding one your own peaceful heart. Causing one to feel peace too. And that's the way. And that's the way to be one. Being one that lives to make a difference. Caring for one who really needs a friend. Opening one to truth that they see it. Lifting one to dwell in the kingdom. Dwell in the kingdom. Sending one only thoughts of happiness. Receiving one love that's your gift. Think as one ends the separation. Being one saves the world. Teaching one all the children about love. Finding one your own peaceful heart. Causing one to feel peace too. And that's the way. That's the way. Teaching one all the children about love. Finding one your own peaceful heart. Cause the world to feel peace too. And that's the way.
Welcome back to Centerlight Foundation. Tonight we are speaking about crush. Do you realize that when you put your hands on anybody, most importantly, your children, why you should never hit your child? I can give it to you in a simple, I could have said one sentence and we could have said goodnight. Do you like to get busted in the chops? Do you like to get hit anywhere? What does it feel like getting hit? That's a pretty big tell right there. Well, they deserved it. They broke into someone's car, my 14-year-old child. Maybe because there was no conscious parenting. And because of our unconscious parenting, we want to lash that out on someone else and say, and crush their spirit and their will, say, it's you. You don't. So in this transference of unconsciousness, no one is taking responsibility. And so the cycle continues. I remember, I love my parents. I love my growing up, my rearing, the kicking in my rearing, because blessed am I to have had the consciousness to endure, champion the mountain, to brave the wilderness. I don't blame my family, my parents, where I was born, none of that. But for real, as it was for me, the first recollection I have of being smacked was about 5 or 6 years old back then. And I laugh because, you want to cover up some of the pain. Well, I'm going through it today. Me just being Keith, giddy, Keith, right? Doing whatever at the kitchen table. And my mother, we had some family over. Back then you could smoke in the house and that was a thing to do. This was 1960, whatever. And then my mom's talking, because we're from South Louisiana, moving her hands. And Keith being Keith, she touched me with a cigarette. And I said, ow! And just out of reaction, because how things were unconsciously steered in us, I got smacked. And I remembered so clearly. And that was, oh my God, what was that? Of course, there was an apology. But the trauma from my mama, who I love and miss greatly, it's a generational curse. We've all been bit. Maybe not all of us. Most of us have been lit either by that cigarette or by the hand on the ass. This is a masterclass in removing said trauma. Based on the evidence of why you should never hit your children, based on the evidence and research, it is widely accepted that physically striking or hitting children is not an effective or appropriate form of discipline. In fact, it can have serious negative consequences on the child's physical, and I don't mean just a pop on the butt. Well, it'll be red and that's physical, but that'll go away. Physical meaning the stress that it will cause, which can cause physical disease or dis-ease. In fact, it can have serious and negative consequences on a child's physical and mental health, as well as the behavior and development. The behavior of that said child that could have broken in the car at 14 years old, the one that we continue to beat down for, because it's not the child's problem, it's our unconscious parenting problem. Firstly, physical punishment can lead to physical harm. Even a light spanking, which is what I did to my child 3 times and realized that wasn't right either. Even a light spanking can cause physical injury, such as bruises or whelps. Actually, mine was lighter than that. I'm not defending myself, but mine was lighter than that, and it doesn't make it even more right because of the intention of wanting to do such things. And more severe forms of physical punishment can lead to broken bones, injuries, so we get all that. Furthermore, striking a child can have lasting emotional. This is what I did until I realized in my trying to break his will was not okay. Furthermore, striking a child can have lasting emotional and mental effects. Studies have shown that children who experience physical punishment are more likely to suffer from anxiety, depression, and aggression. This can result in long-term behavioral problems such as difficulty managing emotions, poor self-esteem is the kicker in the pants for me, and a lack of trust in others. Additionally, physical punishment can harm the parent-child relationship. Children who are hit or physically punished by their parents are less likely to have positive relationship with them. Well, that's pretty much a no-brainer, and may even be fearful of their own parents. This can make it difficult for parents to communicate with their children and form a strong bond, leading to further behavioral, as mentioned, and emotional issues. There are many effective alternatives to physical punishment that can help parents teach their children appropriate behavior and discipline. Get down on your knees and look them at their level so they don't feel like you a god loitering over them, smiting them. My gosh, this is detrimental, not only to yourself, your child, the relationship you have with your child, your family unit, and that spreads out into the global expression of what normal abnormal family life should not be about. Why not choose positive reinforcement? Setting clear boundaries, like I said earlier, it's about being firm as a parent. Conscious and firm versus unconscious and mean. Boundaries and consequences. This is what I taught my son. I didn't teach him right or wrong. I never taught my son, don't do this because it's bad, wrong, do this because it's right. I said, son, here's the deal. When I got on my knees and looked him in his eye, and when he would turn his head away, I left the TV on purpose. I could have turned it off so he would give me more of his attention, but I wanted it on so I can say, here's where the conversation is. Understand that you do this, this is what happens. You do that, that is what happens. And he says, I understand. There was no longer really any further parenting needed except to keep reinforcing this model in my child. By focusing on the positive reinforcement and building a strong relationship with our children, parents can create a healthy and supportive environment that promotes positive behavior and development. There are many reasons why you should never, ever strike your child. Stop striking your child. Dear Lord, stop hitting your children. It can cause physical harm, emotional, all the things I've been describing. Stop hitting your children. You want proof? Let someone else come over and smack you across the chops. It physically stings, striking. It hurts at the soul level, gut level, emotional level. It's damaging. It's beyond anything that can mean anything worth anything at all. I'm going to play you a video I did a few years ago when this all started. Looking into a phone at a fireplace, taking over the watch of a friend's house. Keith, look into your phone and speak. And I'm grateful. It's going to be the vocal, my voice is going to be a little buried because I don't want to get Google spanked. It just takes an effort to listen. There's some music that is just copyrighted. But this is more of my experience when I was still raising my son 7 years ago, when he was 10 or 11, 10 and a half. Now he's a young man. If you're such a one, I strongly suggest, because I care about you and your family and the children that we leave behind us, watch this with an open heart, an open mind. Open yourself up to the beauty that can now transpire in your life that is so long overdue. Even though your children turned out to be fantastic, just think about how much more fantastic our children can be when we become fantastic ourselves, aka conscious. Hello, my name is Keith Anthony Blanchard, and welcome to another installment of Burst of Light. Today I want to talk to you about spare the rod, save the child. First thing I would like to offer is, if this video upsets you, maybe you need to take a good look within yourself to see how this may apply to you and why it might upset you. When I was growing up, I was raised in a family that believed you discipline a child by spanking. Most people, from where I'm from, the time period that I grew up, that was the way. And I am here to tell you that is not the way. You will never achieve your goal by hitting your beautiful child. Look at that. You will never achieve your goal by spanking your children. If you spank your child once in a while, they'll begin to not like you. If you spank your child often, they will begin to resent you. And if you spank your child all the time for every little thing, they will begin to hate you. What you may not realize that you are doing by doing such a thing, spanking your child, is as they grow up, when someone does something they do not like, you have given them permission to hit. Hitting is never okay. You will never achieve your objective by spanking your child. You can water the weed or you can water the plant. Whatever one you give your attention to will grow. Careful about which one you water. I have an almost 11-year-old boy. I spanked this child 3 times in my life. Third time I realized what was happening. But also, this is not a cover-up, it is a fact. The times I did discipline my child, it was more or less to get his attention versus inflicting some sort of pain. Then I realized that was not okay either. Again, you will never achieve your goal disciplining your child through spanking. Instead, what I do now is I get down on my knees. I get down to my son's height, get down to his level, and have my conversation with him. I discipline him through education and watering the plant, supporting him, encouraging him, and those things that I want to see the result as phenomenal behavior. And I tell you, my son is a phenomenal child. This is not a bragging point, it's a fact of the matter that I don't hit my child. I tell him at least 25, 30 times a day for no reason whatsoever. Son, I love you. There's nothing you can ever do to make your father not love you, but also to ever upset me. Spare the rod, save your child. Perfect example, many years ago, I was playing music in a bar, and some lady found out that I do spiritual readings and also counseling, and she asked me, Keith, now that I'm divorced, my son comes home and gives me reports about his father and his father's new girlfriend. And when they come back to me after the week visit, when I get my child again or my children again, they proceed to tell me about how dad and my dad's new girlfriend is saying all these things about me. And of course, when my children tell me that, I don't like that, and I fire back and I say, you don't need to listen to your dad, blah, 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 so forth and so on. And I said, Sherry, listen to what I'm offering to you. Don't respond. Just change the subject, or say, well, that's wonderful, that's okay, that's just your father, but here at our house, we don't do things like that. Just don't fight back. I haven't seen this person for 3 weeks. Went back to my gig, which was an ongoing gig. We played there every Sunday. She returned to tell me that night, oh my God, Keith, an amazing thing has happened. I said, what's that? She says, it doesn't exist anymore. I said, because you've been watering the plant. She said, yes. Hear me when I tell you, my beloved brother or sister, I understand the frustration that can happen in raising a child. Think about what I just said. You want to raise your child, raise them up, not put them down or beat them down. It will never work. They may stop what they're doing in the moment because they're afraid. It's not what you want. You don't want to stifle their growth. You do not want to stifle their expression. You do not want to stifle their voice. Again, this would be giving them permission to hit others who go against the grain of your child's life. That only causes more trouble. It's abuse, it's hitting, and that's never okay. Support your child in the awesome behavior they have. Tell them that you love them all the time. Hug them. Be in their life. Take on the exercise of looking in their eyes. Have them sit with you and talk openly. Tell them that they can tell you anything they want to tell you. Create that time. Maybe 5, 10, 15 minutes a day. Say, okay, we're going to have open communication time. You can tell me anything you want. You can use any words you want. You can say anything you want to me and not be in trouble in this moment. You can say it. It's okay. And when they're done, love, support, and appreciate your child. Never hit your child if you want your goal to truly be the goal you're aspiring for through your hitting. Hitting begets hitting. Support creates confidence. Empower your child. Do not disempower them. Again, I ask, how can you ever hit something as beautiful as that? I had someone tell me, well, Keith, my father disciplined me in that way. He used to spank me. Look at me, I turned out okay. And I said, really? Is that your statement to me about hitting to justify it? I said, have you ever thought about how much more okay you might have turned out if you were encouraged instead of spanked? For you, the unity of your family, for the rest of your child's life, and everyone else who comes into their experience. Spare the rod, save the child. Welcome back to Center of Light Foundation. We're the tribe. We're the nation. It's time to break the generational curse. It's for better, not worse. Heaven on earth is afoot. We're going to be here for a large part of it, at least the entry into the doorway of it. But it's about the children. And we will have the opportunity to come back, provided we don't stifle the child's voice. I'm going to go into my bed, say my beautiful prayers to Swamiji, all that is good, whatever you call it, ice cream cone. And I'm going to go heal. Never strike your child.